and 49 other experiments that revolutionized physics.
Well, you see, if you look at quantum mechanics, some people would say that...
Yeah.
In fact, I have a wonderful... Do you know about Schrödinger's cat, the story?
I only know... No, I don't.
Okay. Erwin Schrödinger was a really important scientist, Swedish. And
right.
He came along at the time of quantum mechanics, and he said, look, your interpretation, the Copenhagen interpretation, was absolute nonsense, because according to the Copenhagen interpretation, if an electron could be here or there,
yes.
then one possibility is it could be in both places at the same time. Okay?
Yes.
So he invented this experiment where there was a cat in a box, and there was a mechanism that might or might not go off and kill the cat. So until you opened the box, you had no idea whether the cat was alive or dead. In fact, according to the quantum mechanics interpretation, yes. It must be alive and dead at the same time. So I've been given, just recently for Christmas, I was given
yes.
a T-shirt which says wanted poster, wanted Schrödinger's cat, dead and alive.
Somebody knew you well.
Anyway, yes. So that you will find if you read about quantum
yes.
mechanics, you'll find that the future might exist.
Yes.
But it probably doesn't.
Yes. And you brought the books in. Can we keep these books? Would you be interested? Would you sign them for us for
All
On Radio?
You're on.
Something with it. I'll buy them from you.
Oh, good.
Eh?
Only 50 quid each.
Yeah.
Signed.
Yeah, so that's a little about time. And the reason I do that, because music does work like that, doesn't it, in terms of time?
It takes
you can almost,
straight back.
As you did, you relate back to that time.
Yes.
And you do the singing. Now, I just want to mention another one that you did, what the Romans did for us, because this is a good question I got for you, what the Victorians did for us.
Yes.
And there's a programme about there. So it sounds like these different groups all did things for us.
Correct.
Which ones, who did the best? Who did for us the best?
Somebody suggested we should call it How the Romans Did for Us. But, well, you see, the Romans produced a whole lot of new ideas, really new ideas, which we, from flushing toilets to straight roads, which simply hadn't existed
Did the Romans
before.
give us flushing toilets?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
They had wonderful flushing toilets. The trouble was we paid no attention, and we went on using holes in the ground for another sort of 300 years. Really bonkers.
Yeah.
Because they had excellent, and you can still see them. You can see one at Housestead's Fort on Hadrian's Wall. Ephesus in Turkey is terrific, but there are lots all around the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And they would generally have a bathhouse, and all the water from the bathhouse would come around and flush the loos. And they usually had communal loos, so you'd have a lot of people sitting around a room, all going at the same time.
Reading their tablets.
Or swapping jokes or whatever it was, yes. And it was ludicrous that we ignored this, because it was a really good idea, and for some reason we didn't take it up. So the Romans left us a lot of fundamental ideas. The Victorians had most of the Industrial Revolution to play with, so they had steam engines and they had all sorts of machines and so on. So they did all sorts of different things, but in the end, you could argue that they're all little bits and pieces adding on to what the Romans had done hundreds of years earlier.
If you could go back in time, which period would you like to have lived in? Would you have been like around Roman times or Victorian?
Neither.
Or are you happy now?
Yeah, much better now. Even with Roman flushing loos, the sanitary systems would have been pretty horrible. The food would have been pretty horrible. No proper heating. Even though they had underfloor heating, still it would have been pretty perishing. And their clothes weren't very good. I'd much rather, I'm wearing now sort of T-shirts. You've got a fancy fleece on. We've got really nice clothes now, and we've got nice heated surroundings. Much nicer now.
Were they harder people then?
Oh, yes.
Well, have we gone soft?
Yes, definitely. And what's more, we're useless at, nobody can read maps anymore. You just use your sat-nav, people can't add up.
Did you find the studio with sat-nav?
I had to, because I got practically in the dockyard, and I thought, I'll get shot if I go in here. So
yes.
I had to do a U-turn and get my phone out.
Yeah. And of course, mentioning talking about the toilets, you've written a book about the toilet.
I have two, in fact, yes.
Yes.
One called Thunder, Flush and Thomas Crapper, and one called Taking the Piss, for obvious reasons. Yes.
Yes. How on earth have you got this sort of curious mind?
No.
In the sense of you question things. How does that work? What does this do?
No, I'm very dull. I just sit and,
I don't think you're dull, Adam.
Sometimes
I
sit and think, and sometimes I just sit.
Yeah. Is there anything left for you in terms of pondering?
Oh, yes.
Are you still pondering?
There's loads of books that...
Is there more in you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not at the moment, I'm not in a hurry to write another one.
Yeah.
But somebody has suggested that I should, so maybe I'll get on with it.
And while we're on the book there, you've got a new one out.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
Fibonacci's
give that a
rabbits.
shout out as
Yes.
well. If you just hold it up by the microphone now, we might catch it on the
you
camera.
see?
Sort of
No,
thing,
have a
you
look
know?
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fibonacci's rabbit.
Yes.
And 49 other discoveries that revolutionised mathematics.
Correct.
It sounds clever, but I
Yeah.
bet it's very interesting.
Well,
What's it about?
This whole thing started 4 years ago when a publisher came to me and said, would I write 2 books in a great hurry? And to cut a long story short, I did. Pavlov's dog was all about psychology. Schrodinger's cat was all about physics. And this one has now come along, Fibonacci's rabbits. The thing is, we'd done a cat and a dog, and I suggested we should have a whole arc. So we should have Fibonacci's rabbits and Darwin's finches and Hooke's fleas and so on and so forth. I proposed about 20 titles. And they finally agreed to do Fibonacci's rabbits.
So you suggested the title as well. Often publishers can do that.
That's right. Not the first 2, but I did.
Did it come from you, or was it an area of you felt perhaps there was a gap in the market and you needed to do something?
I'm not that clever, no. But we'd done cat and dog, and I just thought, it's nice to do animals, and this is an absolutely obvious
like
one.
you're saying.
Fibonacci's rabbits is a very good story.
Yes.
Fibonacci was he was born in Pisa about 1185 or something, and he was there growing up while the Leaning Tower was being built.
Yeah.
And it was leaning, even when it got to the 3rd story, it was leaning. So he would have known about that.
You've been up there, haven't you?
I've been up there. I have dropped tomatoes off the top. I'm probably the only person in the world who's ever been paid to drop tomatoes off the Leaning Tower.
Wow, I'm sat in the studio with him. Fantastic.
It was fascinating. I dropped...
Why? Go on. Why? Why did you do it? It was gravity?
Yeah, it's to do with gravity. 2,000 years ago, Aristotle said that big things fall faster than little ones, that if you dropped a brick and half a brick, the brick would fall twice as fast as the half brick. And nobody challenged that. Nobody challenged that until Galileo came along about 1590. And he said, no, that's nonsense. Because, and I think he thought this through. Suppose you take 2 half bricks and tie them together. Would they then fall half the speed or the whole speed? You know, and if you tie them together loosely,
yes.
or suppose you're going to jump off a cliff with your lover. Right. Would you go quicker if you held hands? And the answer is no, of course you wouldn't. It wouldn't make any difference. So, but he wanted to prove this. And so allegedly he went up the Leaning Tower and he dropped different sorts of balls off the top to show they would hit the ground at the same time.
Okay.
Actually, it's a very difficult experiment to do because if you've got a heavy thing and a light thing, they're quite difficult to let go at the same time. And then, of course, you can't be at the bottom to see when they land. He actually invented a very neat set of experiments to simplify the whole process. But we wanted to follow in his footsteps. Yeah. And as we went there, we thought, what should we drop? Footballs, tennis balls, golf balls, ping pong balls, tins of something? And then somebody said tomatoes. And of course, they're very Italian. You get big ones and little ones. So we simply went into a supermarket and we got a kilo of big tomatoes and a kilo of little tomatoes. And then we climbed up. And it's terrifying. I'm terrified of heights.
Yeah.
And if you walk around the top, there's a walkway which is 3 feet wide maybe. Yeah. It's marble, and it's been polished by the 500,000 people who've been up there. It's sloping, of course, because the tower is leaning, and there's a trip hazard about every yard. So you could easily slip. And there's a safety rail which is about 18 inches high and very, very rusty. So you could slip and go under that, and I reckon I calculated that it would take me just over 3 seconds to hit the ground.
Your mind was already ahead there.
Absolutely.
It was working out like a tomato.
If you see this film, you will see that my knuckles are white as I'm hanging onto that safety rail. I never let go. Yeah. And I put my arm round one of them to drop the tomatoes.
Right. So that's on YouTube, actually. Everyone's listening. If you're a marvellous man, you put Adam Hart-Davis into YouTube and we'll have a look what comes up. Fantastic. But I tell you what's going to come up now, Adam. Another one of these.
The tracks of my life.
And track number 2 there.
Oh, track number 2. What have we got?
Get another disc.
It's now or never. Elvis, you see, that was when I was at school, when I was growing up and getting interested in women. You probably don't know about women, but...
I know too much, I think. I should write a book.
Anyway, Elvis was all the rage, and of course there are hundreds of Elvis tracks. But this is lovely because it's loud, and I thought about Wooden Heart. Can't you see I love you? Please don't break my heart.
Playing the harmonica on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Blow, suck, blow, do, that one.
How he managed to play the harmonica and sing at the same time, I don't know.
Incredible.
Damn cunning.
And keep his hair like that.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the opposite. This is loud and passionate and desperate. But let's hear it.
Oh, it's now or never. Is it? It's now, though, at the moment, isn't it? It's now with Adam Hart-Davis. Here's Elvis.